it too. Not yet. We'll push it on here in a second. We're ready. We got 1 minute. I'm sorry. Oh, you're fine. So take your gavel. Go ahead and take the gavel and hit the gavel. And say, I call this meeting to order.
I call this meeting to order.
Now let's take a moment for the moment of silence.
Now for the moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does anyone have any questions for staff?
Does anyone have any questions for staff?
Say, seeing none. Seeing none.
Seeing none,
We'll move to proclamation.
We'll-
We'll move to proclamation.
we'll move to proclamation.
Very good. This evening for Small Business Saturday. Whereas the town of Huntersville, North Carolina celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. And whereas according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, there are 33.2 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 62.7% of net new jobs created since 1995. And small businesses employ 46.4% of the employees in the private sector of the United States. And whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the United States stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses create an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. And whereas 72% of consumers reported that Small Business Saturday 2022 made them want to shop and dine at small, independently owned retailers and restaurants all year long. And whereas Town of Huntersville supports our small businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now, therefore, I, Melinda Bales, Mayor of the Huntersville, do hereby proclaim November the 25th of 2023 Small Business Saturday in Huntersville, North Carolina. All right, we do have a couple more of these proclamations this evening. And Ms. Gatewood, would you come up here, please? Thank you both for coming up here. Whereas Epilepsy Awareness Month is a nationwide effort to raise awareness and change the conversation around epilepsies, seizures, and side effects, as well as to improve and save lives through care, advocacy, research, new therapies, public health, and education. And whereas epilepsy is a brain disorder characterized by recurrent and unprovoked seizures that can affect anyone at any age and at any time. And whereas epilepsy is a spectrum disease comprised of many diagnoses and experiences and includes a wide range of seizure types, control, severity, and outcomes varying from person to person. And whereas epilepsy is the fourth most common neurological disorder, there are approximately 3.4 million people in the United States and over 135,000 North Carolinians that live with epilepsy. And whereas an increasing number of people are diagnosed with rare epilepsies, which are largely complex, severe, chronic, and even life-threatening. Collectively, rare epilepsies account for a growing percentage of the epilepsy population. And whereas people with epilepsy need access to affordable, comprehensive, physician-directed, and person-centered health care, delays in accessing effective treatments increase the likelihood of breakthrough seizures and related complications, including injury, disability, or even sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. And whereas many treatments are approved to treat seizures, 30 to 40% of people with epilepsy still live with uncontrolled seizures. And the epilepsy-related medical costs associated with uncontrolled epilepsy are 2 to 10 times higher than those of controlled epilepsy. And whereas the annual observance of Epilepsy Awareness Month encourages residents to spread understanding, education, and compassion in order to improve the lives of people living with epilepsy and their families in our communities. Now, therefore, I, Melinda Bales, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2023 Epilepsy Awareness Month in Huntersville, North Carolina. Would you like to say anything?
I would.
Please.
Thank you, Mayor Bales. Mayor Bales has known me so long that she knew me prior to my epilepsy diagnosis. I was diagnosed almost 20 years ago and for the most part remain controlled. But 90% of my seizures have happened when I was not with a family member, and it was someone on the side of the road who tended to me and ended up having to call for first aid. So I brought tonight seizure first aid. It's simple. Seizure first aid is super simple. There's some ribbons on here. I would love it if the board would support us this month. And it's just important that we acknowledge that there are 1 in 10 people will have a seizure in their lifetime, and 1 in 26 will be diagnosed with epilepsy. So it's extremely prevalent, and I appreciate the town recognizing it, and those of us in North Carolina appreciate that the town is helping us spread awareness. And I have some other, if any of the staff and so forth want them, I'll be back at the back.
Bear with me, I have 2 more. Whereas it is with great joy and pride that we, the town of Huntersville, North Carolina, come together to celebrate a remarkable milestone in our history, the 150th anniversary of our town. And whereas Huntersville, North Carolina was incorporated on February the 28th of 1873 and has since grown and flourished into a vibrant, diverse, and thriving community, rich in history, culture, and the spirit of togetherness. And whereas throughout these 150 years, Huntersville has been a place of both historic significance and modern innovation, from our early days as a small agrarian town to our current status as a flourishing metropolitan area. And whereas our town is home to a diverse and dynamic population that values community, heritage, and the promise of a bright future. And whereas we have witnessed the dedication of generations of residents, leaders, and community members who have worked tirelessly to shape the welcoming, prosperous, and forward-thinking place it is today. And whereas Huntersville has not only thrived in terms of development and economic opportunity, but has also preserved its natural beauty, boasting picturesque parks and lush nature preserves while abutting the shores of Lake Norman. And whereas we commemorate this sesquicentennial milestone, we remember those who have come before us, honor their contributions, and acknowledge the responsibility we carry to continue building a brighter and more promising future for Huntersville. And whereas we recognize that our town's success is the result of the collective efforts of its residents, both past and present, and we remain dedicated to promoting unity, fostering inclusivity, and ensuring a prosperous future for all. Now, therefore I, Melinda Bales, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim the year 2023 as the official celebration for the sesquicentennial anniversary of Huntersville, North Carolina. Let this celebration be a testament to our town's enduring spirit, and let it serve as a reminder of the strength we have as a community when we work together, embrace our history, and build toward a bright and promising future. Now, I would like to, if anybody is in here that serves on the 150th committee, would you please come up here, please? Come on. Come here. Yeah, I'm going to pass that to you. Okay? Would you like to say something about our 150th, please?
I just want to thank all the volunteers who put so much time and effort in organizing activities, coming up with ideas, and trying to pull so much history when there was no 100th anniversary, there was no 50th anniversary. So all 150 years, these folks had to go back and look for information, did a wonderful job. So I just want to thank you all.
Yes. We had a wonderful team, all citizen-led, 150th. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for spending the year working toward just the culmination of events that you've hosted for our community, the history that we've been able to push out. It's just been a wonderful year for Huntersville. And I look forward to the next 50, when we dig up the time capsule. See, I'm already forgetting. The time capsule, don't ask me where we're burying it in 50 years, but I do hope to be there for sure. Now, I have one more proclamation that I would like to read. And if Miss Grace Stender would come down here for me, please. How are you? Good. Thank you. Whereas Grace Stender has the privilege to be Honorary Mayor of the Day in the town of Huntersville and experience the duties of the office of Mayor by joining Mayor Bales and the town commissioners on the dais for a town board meeting. And whereas Ms. Stender earned the right to be Mayor for the day through the love she has for her Huntersville community. And whereas Ms. Stender is on the student council at Lake Norman Charter Elementary School. Earlier this year, she won the Night of Honor recognition at her school, where she is also involved with the Girl Scouts and Girls on the Run. And whereas Grace Grace, you did an excellent job up here kicking us off with this meeting, so thank you. So we do have one person who has signed up to speak this evening, and that would be Mike Russell. Mr. Russell, as you come, You have 3 minutes.
An incredible.
Yes.
Why wasn't that put on the agenda? Only kidding. Mr. Phillips, would you take one and pass it along, please? Thank you very much. Good evening. I'm Mike Russell, 17443 Glassfield Drive. That's in the Cambridge Grove neighborhood. I serve as the HOA president, and I've been a resident for the past 24 years there. I'm here to speak about item 10 on the agenda tonight, and that is the traffic calming measures for Cambridge Grove Drive. Thank you to the engineering department for all the work that they've put into this. The recommendation tonight from the engineering department is for 2 speed humps to be installed. Last month, if you'll remember, Bob Smoosh presented to the board. He is a Cambridge Grove resident and a member of the Cambridge Grove Traffic Committee. He presented the recommendations from the traffic committee that we put together. Our recommendation is highlighted in green for you. That's 1 speed hump. We think that that speed hump will serve 2 purposes. 1 is to calm traffic, and 2, in the future, provide a safe pedestrian crossing for Cambridge Grove Drive. As a reminder, Cambridge Grove is located on Highway 74 West between Highway 115 and 21. We're the neighborhood adjacent to the Target Shopping Center. The only marked crosswalk right now, and I highlighted that in yellow, is at the entrance of Cambridge Grove Drive, and that is right along Highway 73. So my ask tonight of the commissioners is, after the engineering department's presentation, is that you instruct the engineering department to proceed with the construction of 1 speed hump, and then to start the process of analyzing pedestrian safety along Cambridge Grove Drive, Sanford Road, and specifically the highlighted yellow crosswalk there. And please keep in mind, as another note, there's a preschool that's going to open up 150 yards to the east, 150 feet, excuse me, to the east of Cambridge Grove Drive. So, who knows, maybe those little crumb munchers will want to, take a trip to Panda Express or Starbucks or something like that, and that's the only, marked crosswalk that they will have to take. I'd like to thank, again, Laura Mastro-Francesco. Did I pronounce that correctly? Great. For all your work, you've been great. We look forward to working with you in the future on other projects within the neighborhood. And on a personal note, I'd like to thank Commissioner Phillips and Munger for your time on the board. You will be missed. Thank you.
Okay. We'll now move to agenda changes. Are there any agenda changes this evening?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull item 8C and add that as 10D.
Madam Mayor, I would like to pull items 8D, 8E, 8F, and make them 10E, 10F, and 10G.
Any other agenda changes? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
Motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those in favor? Did you do that already? You were fast. I looked down and then I looked up and there were no hands. Any opposed? All right, seeing none, that motion carries. We will now move. There are no public hearings this evening. We'll now move to item 10A.
Madam Mayor,
Yes?
I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Oh, that's right. I did that the last time, too. We moved so many things. Motion to adopt the consent agenda and the second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Consent agenda is adopted. We'll now move to other business. Item 10A, consider decision on traffic calming measures for Cambridge Grove Drive between Glencrest Drive and NC 73. Ms. Mastro-Francesco, how are you this evening?
Well, thank you.
Good.
Hello, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Roberts. I'm here to complete the traffic calming request on Cambridge Grove Drive. So just a quick recap. Like Mr. Russell had said, it's on Sanford Road. It's between US 21 and NC 115. It's the portion in red that's around 950 linear feet. That's the portion that we examined in our study. At the last public hearing, I went through 7 different options for speed humps. I'm not going to go over them all again, but we went through several of them. And tonight, the engineering department is recommending 2 speed humps, one just north of each of the crossroads that are within the section. And if this is approved, we would come back at a future meeting to ask for funding for the 2 speed humps, which would be approximately $10,000 for 2 speed humps. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for staff at this point? Is there a motion on the floor? Yes, Commissioner Munger.
You saw the presentation that was just made about the 1 speed hump. Is that something that staff could support?
We could support the 1 speed hump in the middle, which I believe is the same. I didn't see the highlighted part, but yes. The green highlighted is what they had sent earlier. So we could put a speed hump there.
Okay, and does it seem reasonable that in a future state that becomes a crosswalk?
It would have to be replaced with a speed table, which would be a pedestrian crossing, a little flatter.
Steven, I mean, I'm trying to figure out, does that make sense that it becomes a crosswalk instead of a speed hump?
Speed humps and speed tables are similar but different. The table has a flat top versus a hump is rounded
Gotcha.
over. So if you're going to put in one, you have to take it out and then putting something different if you want it to become a mid-block crossing, if that's what you want to do. And then you may want to do some other treatments depending on the traffic volume or number of pedestrians across it. So
I'm just
different analysis that would go into that.
Right, I'm just going based on what obviously the residents, HOA president, bless your heart, I would never do that, is is getting from his residents is that sounds like they want a crosswalk, and maybe that makes sense. But you had said, I believe the number was 5,000 for a speed hump, if I remember correctly. So
$5,000 per.
even if we pulled it, not a huge allotment. Anyway, yeah, just rambling. Done.
Commissioner Kidwell?
Yes. May I ask Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Russell, could you come back up here? Speed table versus speed hump. Now, the members of your HOA have come and asked for a crosswalk there. Would a speed table be?
The response that I received after Laura sent the email to the traffic committee was provided to the residents of Cambridge Grove via Facebook and then also direct email. And the responses that were received back was for 1 speed hump. Okay. And then, looking forward to, increasing pedestrian safety, along Cambridge Grove Drive is, a second objective, if you will, for this.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Kovacs?
How much is a speed table?
That I don't have on me. A little bit more than a speed hump. It's going to be wider, be flat for a good 6 to 8 feet. And then we'll have some extra pavement markings.
Would it
for
make more
out there.
sense to just approve a speed table if it's going to be requested later on? Or no, maybe?
So look for a pedestrian crossing. Again, you don't want to just discriminately put one in. We have not looked at, is that the best location for a pedestrian crossing? And I haven't seen the exhibit that they presented tonight, but currently there's a marked pedestrian crossing out at 73. And I would assume there's probably one, need to double check, at the northern end at Glencrest as well, because that's a 4-way stop intersection. So there may not be a marked one, but there may be an unmarked. Rules are the same for both. So there may just be a pedestrian ramp
Gotcha.
mid-block, not sure where that's located, or if that's the best location, or if there's adequate site distance. We can keep going on and on. So that has not been evaluated because this is for traffic calming.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'm going to wing it a little bit here. My apologies. I'd like to make a motion for a single speed hump to be located on Cambridge Grove Drive between Drew and Truett. And then that a study be done to look into the possibility of creating a crosswalk in a feasible location along Cambridge Grove Drive.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries 6-0. Thank you. All right. We'll now move to item 10B, and this is petition R21-08, Beltway 77 Industrial Park revision to approved TIA improvements. Mr. Richards, good evening.
Good evening. Brian Richards here for planning staff. We have a request from the Strategic Capital Partners for a modification to their rezoning to their TIA associated with the rezoning 2108. If you recall, that was approved back in September of 2021 for a large industrial park just south of Hambright Road. At that time, they had requested a right-in, right-out access along Hambright Road adjacent to I-77. The long-term goals of both the planning department and Strategic Capital, as well as CATS, was to actually run a public street through CATS property, but that took a little while to get the paperwork in order. That has since been done. Strategic Capital Partners has partnered with CATS, and they are building, just recently approved, got their approvals for this road, so they no longer need that right-in, right-out access on Hambright Road, and so they are asking for permission to remove that. Planning staff is in favor, as well as our engineering department and NCDOT.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I have a motion.
Commissioner Munger?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve petition R21-08, a request by Strategic Capital Partners for Beltway 77 Industrial Park for a revision to the approved TIA improvements as it is consistent with the requirements of Article 14 of the zoning ordinance.
There's a motion and there is a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We now move to item 10C, and this is petition R23-08. It's considered decision for Dearness Gardens, a request by Ken Foister to rezone 6 parcels totaling 10.07 acres generally located around Old Statesville Road from highway commercial conditional district to neighborhood residential to highway commercial conditional district and neighborhood residential for boundary and site amendments. Mr. James, how are you this evening?
Well, thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
So R2308 Dearness Gardens. I'm just going to go over briefly a few changes since the public hearing. The first being the plan has not changed, but the modification request for number 4 just specifies that that is a modification due to more accessory building square footage than principal building square footage. So that is one of the new modifications. Again, it's not a change to the plan. It just brings that up as a modification. And then a new change to this rezoning since the public hearing and the planning board meeting is the original request for a 10-foot off-site buffer on a easement has been requested to have no buffer, and that is on the southern boundary between the street frontage on Old Statesville Road to the newly rezoned back newly requested back property, and that request again is for a no buffer along that boundary. Worth mentioning, the original rezone, which was not at that same property line, was 47 feet. So those are the two changes since the public hearing and the planning board meeting. In the planning board recommendation, it was unanimous 7-0 approval. However, that modification mentioned was not part of that vote. That vote was for the 10-foot offsite buffer, and that has since changed to the 0 buffer. So for staff's recommendation, with the two new changes, staff does recommend 4 of those modification requests. Staff does not recommend a no buffer on that southern boundary. We do recommend at least a 10-foot evergreen buffer. We do recommend the other 3 modification requests, and the 5th to address all minor staff comments. And that's all I have for you. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer those.
All right. Is there a motion on the floor at this point? Commissioner Boone?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve petition R23-08, Dearness Gardens. The request is consistent with the Huntersville 2040 Community Plan, specifically policy LU 6.3, EV 2.1, EV 2.2, and EV 2.3. The proposed plan is consistent with the current land use and character of the surrounding properties. The approval is subject to the following conditions and modification. 1, allow for the portion of the northern boundary to be reduced to 20 feet versus the required 30 feet. 2, allow existing and proposed commercial driveway and parking areas to remain gravel form. 3, allow the total square footage of the accessory structure to exceed the total square footage of heated area of the principal structure. 4, allow for the reduction in the required 30-foot buffer along the southern boundary to 0. 5, all minor staff comments and red lines to be addressed. It is in the public interest to approve the rezoning petition because rezoning is consistent with the envisioned use of the development pattern set forth in the 2040 Community Plan. This rezoning allows the town of Huntersville to support existing small business that was first established on the current site in 1995 and further supports policy EV 2.1 to, quote, promote and encourage local businesses, particularly small businesses, close quote.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. We now go to item 10D. Give me a moment. And that is approved budget amendment recognizing revenue in the amount of $235,374 from Commercial Real Estate Advisors escrow account for installation of a left turn lane at the northern end of North Cross Drive. Mr. Trott, I think, or Ms. Huffman, this was pulled off of the agenda, and I believe Commissioner Boone has a question.
Thank you. We'll do our best to respond from this team effort.
Madam Mayor, I requested that this be pulled from the consent agenda. First of all, my question is, how long has this money been escrowed? And is the money going to be used for a left turn lane at the northern end of North Cross Drive?
Escrow has been in place since 2009, and the money's being provided, the agreement on the agenda is the money's being provided to NCDOT to use for a left turn lane as part of the North Cross Drive project.
So in 2009, the estimate that escrowed was $235,000. And to put that turn lane in now, how much would that cost?
The $235,000 that's in there. That's what we're paying DOT, and that's what they're taking as full and final payment.
All righty. And how many more of these escrow programs do we have? And
So our software is at least partially down this evening related to our internet issues. At the end of May, it appears we had approximately 14 escrow agreements. Sounds like a lot. 12 of them seem to be exclusively sidewalk-related, not road-related to the extent that that matters. And when I say sidewalk, I include multi-use paths in the sidewalk number as opposed to a road or street improvement.
thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, is there a motion on the floor?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve a budget amendment recognizing revenue in the amount of $235,374 from the Commercial Real Estate Advisory 3 escrow account for installation of a left turn lane at the northern end of North Cross Drive.
There's a motion, is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Munger. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries. We now move to item 10E, which is consider approving a contract to purchase 14 new police vehicles. These vehicles are being purchased with approved fiscal year 24 budgetary funds from an approved vendor listed on the North Carolina Department of Administration purchase contract. Chief Graham, it's good to see you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening to the board and mayor, town manager. Like you said, I'm here before you to get approval to assign a contract to purchase these 14 vehicles. The state of North Carolina every year goes out and does a bid process, and the lowest responsible bidder was Elderton Dodge out of High Point, North Carolina. These vehicles that we're purchasing are police pursuit package, the same style that we've been in the past. They no longer make sedans, so these will be SUVs. This money is within the approved budget that was signed July 1st.
Is there a motion on the floor? Commissioner Kidwell?
I'd like to make a motion to approve, to enter into contract with Elderton Dodge Chrysler Jeep for the purchase of 14 new vehicles for the total of $568,610. I am going to miss seeing the Ford Explorers, but having had a Dodge Durango in the past, they are fun to drive.
There is a motion and there is a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you so much.
The next item on our agenda is item 10F, and that is approved budget amendment appropriating $98,250 from Parks and Recreation Capital Reserve Fund to the North Mecklenburg Park Splash Pad project for 2 additional shade structures and to upgrade the concrete pad and add safety surfacing. Mr. Jaycox.
Yes, so we're requesting to move funds, like you mentioned, from the Capital Park Reserve Fund for those 2 alternates, which provide more shade, as well as the surfacing. It's a little easier on the kids' feet and knees, so it's a little bit safer than just the concrete. Parks and Rec Commission unanimously recommended using those funds for those alternates as well. And then the next item is the actual construction contract for the splash pad at North Met.
All right, sounds good. Is there a motion on the floor? Commissioner Phillips.
I'd like to make a motion to approve budget amendment appropriating $98,250 from Park and Recreation Capital Reserve Fund to the North Mecklenburg Park Splash Pad project for 2 additional shade structures and to upgrade the concrete pad and add safety surfacing.
There is a motion and there is a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Kidwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to point out to Commissioner Phillips, I know this is one of your pet projects over the past years serving on the board, so I think it's only right that you got to make the motion from the consent agenda to regular business to make this happen. So congratulations.
All right, any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries 6-0. And now we'll move to item 10G on the agenda, and that is to adopt resolution to award the bid for the North Mecklenburg Park Splash Pad project and approve the construction contract.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution to award the bid for the North Mecklenburg Park Splash Pad project and approve the construction contract.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second. I have discussion.
Absolutely.
So when we brought this up during our FY 23-24 there were some commissioners who voted against this whole process, so I wanted to be able to pull it off the consent agenda to give them a chance to vote if they wanted to vote that way, or maybe they've had changes of heart. So,
Fair enough.
yes, ma'am.
All right, so there is a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And any opposed? That motion carries 6-0. All right. I think we just blasted through the, you would, oh, she catapulted us. Mayor Grace catapults us forward. Yes, I see that. We're going to move to mayor and commissioner reports. Commissioner Phillips.
No update.
Commissioner Boone.
Yes, Mayor, I have two items. The Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce honored the area's first responders at a luncheon on October 19th. It was a public safety luncheon. And the Assistant Chief, Ray Murphy, a career firefighter since 2000, earned Firefighter of the Year for the Huntersville Fire Department. And I'd just like to say publicly, congratulations to Chief Murphy. And finally, it's time, you probably noticed it's campaign season. There's a lot of political signs out there. But the signs will be picked up, except for Commissioner Kidwell's, starting right after the election. Those signs can be picked up on Saturday, November 11th, right after the parade for the veterans. The pickup point will be Troop 19 Scout Hut, and the address there is 200 South Main. And it is, we're going to clean the town up, and it's a good project for the scouts. And if you want your signs back, it's going to cost you $1 each, and it's a good fundraiser project for Troop 19. That's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Kovacs.
I did not receive a report.
Oh.
I know.
Commissioner Kidwell.
No report, and Commissioner Boone, thank you on the mention of the signs. My signs have been so popular this campaign season that most of them have already been picked up. So I do appreciate it.
Commissioner Partee.
I want to say amen to that, Commissioner Kidwell. Mine also have been collected. But no, I have no report, but as always, I want to advocate for gun safety, especially in the homes where guns are stored and children are present. Accidental and intentional discharge causes serious injury and death. The Huntersville Police Department has free gun safety locks. Organizations and individuals can contact the police department or me at derekpartee@huntersville.org. Let's be child safe, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Commissioner Munger.
Mayor Pro Tem Phillips, I get the feeling that there's like something happening tomorrow that like people are getting really tense about.
We're sleeping in.
I'm not feeling that tension. Yes, tomorrow is election day. If you have not already voted, please get out and vote tomorrow. I only have one request because we are not allowed to campaign from the dais. Do not vote for me. Thank you. Public Arts Commission is meeting this Wednesday, November 8th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at the Town Center Rotunda. We will be discussing fundraising, public art displays, and peace polls. And last but not least, as always, if you have the opportunity to give, please consider supporting our local nonprofits. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I just have a quick report from the Lake Norman EDC. We will be hosting on November the 28th the next Journey 360 program with our area high schools. And so we take students, about 25 students from each high school. We'll rotate through various companies within the area. And I will tell you, this year we're going to Vanek, Atom Power, and Champion Tire. And all three high schools will rotate through those, and then we'll end up at Lake North or at CPCC. And we'll take a tour of the Marenkas campus and have pizza and feed those kids and explain to them how those jobs that they just saw, how they can achieve those through certifications or through higher education at CPCC, and make sure that they can land those jobs. So looking forward to participating in Journey 360 again this year. And yes, they're tomorrow. I would just, if you haven't gone out to vote, please do so tomorrow. Polls are open at your regular polling place. And with that, is there any closing comments?
Yes, ma'am. Happy Veterans Day to those in our town, and we look forward to the Veterans Parade this weekend and all the effort you all have put into it. We appreciate you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Saturday is going to be a wonderful thing, and if you can bring your kids out, line the streets, everyone will be out and about. There tends to be candy, so just make that mental note. Be prepared with a sack of some kind to carry it with you. But yes, we do look forward to honoring our veterans on Saturday. If there's nothing else, is
For
there
the
a motion?
last time, motion to adjourn.
There is a motion. Is there a second? There is a second. All those in favor? Good night, Huntersville.